My name is Reverend Leslie. I'm the Associate Minister here at New Vision Center and part of your ministerial team. And I get to introduce our 2023 annual theme today. Now you might be saying, but Reverend Leslie, it's February. You are so right. Good job with the calendar. And you may remember we spent January reviewing the spiritual principles of Centers for Spiritual Living, digging into that kind of new way of approaching the way we talk about the basics of science of mind in our greater organization. And so we got our basics reviewed, we got our primer in, and now we get to talk about what is the theme for New Vision Center for 2023. And as you can see, it is Every Path Leads Home. Every path leads home. So before we dig into that, let's talk about what is this thing we call an annual theme? Where does it come from? What is this about? So every year in around May, usually, you all receive a survey. And then we bug you to fill it out for a bunch of weeks in a row, right? You remember this experience? And among the things we ask you are things like, what is it that you're working on in your life? What is it that you would like support on? What is it that you think New Vision Center is doing a great job supporting you in? And what is it that you'd like to see us do more of? And we take all of that beautiful information that you give us, and Reverend Karen puts together a team every year of some ministers and some practitioners and some people who have had practitioner training. A small group every year, it's a different group every year, gathers, and we pray and meditate over all of that information you give us. And we do visioning processes over a number of gatherings until it all hones down into what we think you have been asking for the next year. It is this delightfully sacred process, and it has never steered us wrong. I think we're in the 8th year maybe of doing it this way, and it is just wonderful. And then that, whatever it is that we vision out of that, becomes the anchoring for everything we do throughout the year, for the Sunday talks, for the NVC circles themes, for our small group ministry. It supports the youth and family ministry. It helps us decide what workshops we're going to do when, which classes we're going to schedule when, so that we're taking the whole community on a journey together. So this particular year, we had Reverend Karen Einhaus, myself, Reverend Jeff Hargis, we had Nancy Harkins, and we had Darlene Britton on our team this year. So let's just give them some love and appreciation. Because it's a delightful thing that we anchor into. And when we have this theme, it is carried through the absolute utmost of consciousness. How is it that we can take this theme to mean the most things for the most people? What is it that we feel our community is just hungry for? And as I was invited by Reverend Karen to be the one to introduce this theme this year, I was thinking, we're months away from this decision now. What was going on in my soul, in my mind, when I was thinking, yes, every path leads home. This is it. And one of the things that really was up for me in that moment was that so many people ask Reverend Karen, bring up regularly, what's the best way to fill in the blank? What's the best spiritual practice to know God more deeply? What's the best class to take to forgive the people I'm holding a grudge against? What's the best way to get deeper into New Vision Center and have it change my life? What's the best way to be happy? What's the best way to build my faith? We're asked all the time, what's the best way? And I have my cheeky answer. This is not going to surprise you. My cheeky answer is usually the best one is the one you'll do. Because a really great idea that you're not going to do is not going to help. It's not going to get you there, right? And it is cheeky, and I am cheeky, and we know this. And there's a depth underneath that answer that I think my cheekiness sometimes belies. Because We talked about this literally last week, y'all. If God is all there is, if Spirit is all there is, if the one immutable energy of love and life is all there is, every path leads directly into it. It has to. There isn't anywhere else to go. If it's all there is, if it is the energy with no circumference whose center is everywhere, according to Emma Curtis Hopkins, everything we do has the capacity to carry us deeper into it. Everything. So anything we do is the best thing to do, and my evidence is it's the thing that you're doing. Anything done consciously, everything done consciously carries us closer to the heart of the one. Every path leads home. So let's just take a breath of relief and release on that. This whole we can't do life wrong. We're walking our life, as the song said, and we cannot do it wrong. So what is home? If we're going home, we got to figure out where home is, right? What is home? What are we talking about here? Perhaps you will be surprised to find that Ernest Holmes had some things to say about this. Our founder, he was chatty. In Ideas of Power, a particularly lovely little book, he said, "We are all in the process of an eternal evolution, destined to be ever more and never less of ourselves. Every person is in the pathway of unfoldment." Home is our true self, that capital S self that we talk about in the self-mastery class. Home is our true self. It's who we really are when we strip away all the lies and all the confusions and all the programming of culture and all the things that our mom and our grandma and our fourth grade teacher told us that we were supposed to do and be and have and like, right? What's left is our true self, who we really are when we are in that flow of unconditional love, of awe, of expansion, of creativity. That's our true self. And we treat that like it's a delicacy, like we're lucky to get a little glimpse of it every so often, but let me tell you, that is breakfast, lunch, dinner, the after dinner snack, and the midnight thing that you get up and eat that you do half asleep that your husband reminds you that you did, and you say, I did not, but I did. It's the meal. It's the real deal. And everything else is just dust in the wind. It's like we're playing a game of tag all the time. You guys remember tag, right? Where somebody's it and you're running around and you're running around and you're trying really hard not to get caught by something that's not for you. You know it's not for you because you're running. And then there's home base. And if you get to home base, you won the game. You're safe. Nothing bad can happen to you because you're at home base. But here's the deal. Home base is here. Home base is at the center of each one of us. And we're running around. We're so good at running, y'all. We're running around, trying to find where we're safe, where we're accepted, where we're loved, where we're wanted, where we're needed, where we matter. And guess what? We don't need to move a step out there to find home base. Home base is right here, right in the center of your being, where you are who you are. That is home base. In that spot at the center of our being is where we hear the still small voice of the divine within. It is where anything that is not true for ourselves loses importance, falls away. It is where we know what matters and we know what doesn't matter. And we can let that drop away. We don't have to throw it to the floor. We don't have to hit it with a mallet. It can fall like a feather away from us with ease and grace, transmuted to something more useful somewhere else because it's not ours. We don't need to carry it. And doesn't that feel lovely? When we say every path leads home, Reverend Karen's been making this motion all since this loving everyone so much and creating an environment that's so safe that everyone is loved right into the center of community, into the center of love, into the center of their own being. Like if we could fold, my arms don't have enough joints, if I could fold them all the way in there and wrap around my heart center until in concentric circles it winds all the way in until at a subatomic level there's no space between my hands. That's coming into the center of ourselves. That's home. And in that space, is peace, true peace. The peace that passes all understanding, any need to understand, any need to seek the answer to why or how. Can you breathe into that idea? So we're all seeking home base. And who is your home team? Your home team is anyone who supports you in that high vision. We've all got the couple of friends that are both into the same stuff and so encouraging of us as we continue to deepen into our own being. We've got our New Vision Center community. A lot of us have family members. You know who your home team is. And part of leaning into this idea of emphasizing the importance of coming home is making sure that those are the people whose voices we're allowing into our ears, into our head, into our hearts. They will support us on this path. But Leslie, you ask me, and you do. But Leslie, surely not every path can lead home. No, that can't possibly so. There's got to be bad paths, right? There's got to be the path I'm not supposed to be on. Really? You know I love a challenge. If God is all there is, every path has to lead to it. There's nowhere else to go. Here's the thing. Every path leads to God. Every path leads to the divine. Pick the word of your choice. The one infinite reality. Every path leads there. But not every path leads there in the way you desire to authentically go. Because we're all individual, right? We're all unique. We're all special. We all have our way of doing life. So every path will take you to the divine. But if you're feeling into which path is for me, every path will either take you toward expansion or contrast. Contrast is when we have an experience where we're like, I don't know if this is my path. I don't know that I like how this feels. I don't know that this is moving me in the direction I want to go. This feels squidgy, uncomfortable, not quite right. If we, at the center of our own being, contain home, we know what is for us. And that contrast, we don't need to make it wrong. We don't need to make that path wrong. We just use the contrast to notice, oh, my soul wants to be on a different path. See how easy that is? We don't have to spend 80% of our energy before that moment going, that stupid path, that path is stupid and wrong, and that path looked at me weird. And that path, I bet that path isn't even nice to their own dog. Any sane person would agree with me. That is the worst path, the wrongest path. I realize that's bad grammar, but that's how it is in my head. The most awful, terrible, no good, very bad path. We don't have to call our friends and talk about how bad the path is. We don't need to make a club hating the path. We don't need to go on a subreddit about how terrible the path is. You can. But what does that bring us? Does that bring us closer to the feeling of home, or does that bring us more contrast? More contrast. And I don't know about you. I'm not going to speak for you, but I will speak for me. I want that feeling of being step by step closer to the truth of my soul every day, every prayer, every conversation. We know what it feels like when we're heading in that direction, right? We know what it feels like to lean into Spirit and say, I'm not sure which step to take. Whisper into my heart, and I will lean into that and see how it feels. And then you take the step, and it's like, oh, so good. Every path will get you there. Some of them will get you there more pleasantly. And it's up to you which path you want to take in any moment. Both versions give us excellent directions. Contrast is a great direction finder. It's kind of like your GPS going, take a legal U-turn now. Take a legal U-turn. I love that they always tell us to make it legal. I may or may not follow that part of the instruction. And Spirit, if we invite it in, will always guide us, will always direct us to the path that is the most delightful for us in the moment. Ernest in Spiritual Universe and You said, we must believe in the inherent goodness and the all-powerfulness of Spirit. I'm going to take a pause there. We don't must. We must if we want to have the experience that's going to come in the next sentence. But, there is no must. Every path will get us there. We must believe in the inherent goodness and all-powerfulness of the Spirit. We must let every path lead us back to the point where we realize the inner presence of the great reality. There, through the door of our own thought, we enter into the universal consciousness, into a complete realization of life and truth, of love and beauty. Doesn't that sound lovely? That is the path I seek. Life and truth and love and beauty. And I would add in that joy and effervescence and creativity and excitement and passion and restfulness and health. It's here for us. Grace has already been given. The goodness has already been given. So, wouldn't it be nice if our theme team informed us that every path leads home, if they gave us kind of a map? So glad you asked. And you did. I heard you. So there's a couple different overlays to this map. First of all, we can look at what does New Vision Center offer? Like, what are the more formal paths that can carry us home? And it looks like this. We have the path of spiritual study or spiritual practice. We have, so that's classes, right? Meditation, prayer, the stuff that I'm usually up here blathering on about generally falls in that category. We've got sacred service, the opportunity to be giving of ourselves through our gifts and our joy and our love and our willingness to be together. We have connection, that heart space where we join in as one family, one community that can involve anything from being in class together and making friends to gourmet for God and beyond. We're going to Bali, a big group of us this summer. That being connected teaches us how to open our heart space in a bigger way. And we have commitment. That is when we step in organizational leadership to run the organization, to serve on committees, to make decisions about the center, and to support it financially. Those are the four that Reverend Karen has identified as the key NVC structured paths inwards toward the heart of this community. It's like if we think of this community as a big heart, and then where we feel close in community as a concentric heart, and then a heart that is us, and then a heart at the very center of it that is the divine within, that altar, the most high within. Isn't that a lovely image? But wait, there's more, because of course there is. Then we add in the paths of practice, and it looks like this. So I just picked some practices that we might lean into. We could call this the paths of practice. We could call it the paths of healing, the way that we dig in around things like self-acceptance and forgiveness and personal responsibility and communion with the one, the deep prayer and meditation and contemplation that helps take this teaching from a really nice idea that lives up here in the cerebrum down into the heart. They say it's the longest 1.5 feet in the whole world is from your brain into your heart space. But that's the space where we really begin to shift. And we can see how these interplay with each other, right? Personal responsibility and commitment, they just make sense. There's a reason they're next to each other on the chart. It makes sense to have communion and spiritual study hanging out next to each other. We learn them a lot of times in the same way. So we can take these formal paths in, or we can look at it through the lens of what am I working on right now? Am I working on healing old wounds? Am I working on laying down that which has held me back in the past? Am I working on opening up to the realization that I really am at choice in this world and I can pick my path? And I can change my mind at any moment, and not a darn thing or person can say anything about it because it's none of their bleeping business, because it is my life, my heart, my home base, my path, my choice. Isn't this fun? Isn't it fun? But wait, there's more. Because every single path moves us there. Everything you can think of and 14 things you can't think of, and everything the person sitting next to you is thinking of, every single one of them is a path closer to the divine. How do I know this? God is all there is. There's nowhere else to go. If I'm doing a thing, I have to be getting closer to God because there's nowhere else to go. But Leslie, what if I'm going backwards? God's in every direction. Divine is over here. We make it so serious and so heavy, and my loves, it is not. It is not. With every step in any direction, we are taking off heavy weights of not true. Not true, not true, never true, wasn't true, isn't true, can't be true because I am of the divine. And I know this because so are you. Fun. So this year, my friends, is about digging into every single path we can think of and every single path you all bring up, on every way we can possibly think of, to reach inward toward the truth of who we really are and love ourselves and everyone around us so completely that this world is transformed from the inside out with the power of absolute, whatever we want to call it, cosmic consciousness, oneness consciousness, unity consciousness, love consciousness, Christ consciousness. All of it is already inside of us, and it's our job to unleash it. Are we in? Yes. Oh, delightful. And so here is the invitation, my friends. Here's the invitation. Take a step. Any step. Every step is moving us on the path closer to home. And so it is. Let's anchor that in with some prayer. Oh, how good it is to feel into that energetic presence that our founder, Ernest Holmes, called fire in the belly, that place of passion and joy and energy that we know always alerts us that spirit is in action within us. How good it is to recognize that the moments of quietude are spirit in action. The moments of peace are spirit in action, and the moments of divine discontent are spirit in action, and the moments of contrast are spirit in action. That all that we experience are messages from the inside of ourselves, guiding us to that which is exactly what we seek. And so I know that that one infinite presence is right here, right where I am, right where each beloved within the sound of my voice is, already working on whatever is on our hearts and minds, already bringing forth the ideal solutions, elegant paths, beautiful up-leveling. It is already being met without ever having to ask, for grace has already been given. We claim it, we own it, we know it is so with a grateful heart as we say, and so it is.